It is another loud sellout crowd inside the McCarthy Athletic Center here in Spokane. Two of the top teams in the West Coast Conference meeting tonight. Thursday night showcase presented by T. Rowe Price rolls on. It's the Gonzaga Bulldogs, the number 13 team in the nation, hosting the Pilots of Portland. And Portland just a game behind Gonzaga right now in the West Coast Conference. They come in at 5-2. Gonzaga currently tied at the top with the Gales of St. Mary's at 6-1. It's not often you can say Gonzaga comes in off of a conference loss, but that's the case tonight. They lost to USF on Saturday. They had won 27 straight regular season West Coast Conference games. The Pilots sensing that they could reach the top, and they could with a win tonight. It'll all culminate in the conference tournament in Vegas. And will they get 3 into the NCAA tournament from this conference? And hi, everybody. Glad to have you with us. Terry Gannon along with Stephen Bardo. It has been a decade since Gonzaga lost back-to-back conference games. They're in danger of that tonight because Portland comes in not only just a game behind in the standings, Stephen, but also they took Gonzaga right to the wire in the matchup earlier in Portland. It's a 3-point game.
Well, Portland got a lot of confidence from that last ball game, Terry. They're playing very well, 4 in a row, but this will be a huge statement game for the Pilots if they can come in, not only for conference standings, but in terms of NCAA tournament hopes. For Gonzaga, they want to get back on track. They want to get solid on the defensive end where they've struggled the last couple of weeks. Very important game tonight for both squads.
Yeah, they said they were playing with fire for a couple of games. They finally got burned by the Dons in San Francisco. How about our Star Watch tonight? You got TJ Campbell, one of the top assist men in the league, and Elias Harris, who has been red hot the last couple of weeks.
TJ Campbell's going to have to create quite a bit off the bounce and get his teammates involved if Portland wants to be successful tonight. Elias Harris quickly establishing himself as a premier forward in the nation.
TJ Campbell even more important without Nick Ribio in the lineup. He's been out the last 4 games with an Achilles strain. Here are the lineups. Campbell and Jared Stoll, who's been red hot from behind the arc. This is a team that really shoots the 3 well. Second in the nation. Niedermeyer, Smelders, and Knutson can also all shoot the basketball. And for Gonzaga, Dimitri Goodson's got to step up his game out in the backcourt with Matt Bolden, who's been terrific as usual. Stephen Gray struggled in the first matchup with Portland. Elias Harris and Robert Sacre in the middle. So Gonzaga comes in 17-4, and Stephen Gray talked about the fact that they played Santa Clara. You and I had that game, and really Santa Clara had the game, gave it away in the end, and then they lose to San Francisco. He said they've been putting themselves in that situation. We're not playing with energy. Up with us. Hopefully it'll be a wake-up call. We watched shoot-around today. We saw them before the game. I know you have a sense that they're ready to play.
Oh, they're ready to play, and talking with Matt Bolden, we'll see a little bit more of him later on in the telecast, but they understand what's at stake, and a lot of times a loss is not necessarily a bad thing if it gets your attention and gets you back on track.
Gonzaga's won 13 straight against Portland. The last time Portland beat the Zags was 2003, right here in Spokane, in the old camp. Bolden gives it off to Gray, who was just 2 of 13 in that first matchup with Portland, and 0 for 5 from 3-point range. Bolden's going to let it fly a little bit short. Scramble underneath. Gray comes up with it. Knutson lost it, and Smelders the rebound.
It looks like the officials are going to let them play tonight. A lot of contact underneath. And Portland appears like they're going to double-team Elias Harris every time he touches the ball.
TJ Campbell, the newcomer of the year a year ago, transferred from Glendale Community College, just 5'9", but 190 pounds he's put together.
All-state in football and basketball in high school in Arizona, so he's used to some contact. We're going to see a lot of that this evening.
5 on the shot clock. Campbell looks up. He's got to go. Going to let it fly from about 30 feet. And here comes Stephen Gray. We're whistling the offensive foul, and that's one of the things that Gonzaga, not just tonight, but every game, they got to stay out of the foul trouble inside with Sacre.
Well, they're typically bigger than their opponents, especially when you look at the West Coast Conference, and Sacre trying to establish himself. Again, a little bit too aggressive, but if I'm a coach, I'd rather have that aggressiveness than having to pull it out of him. It's in there. Just have to maintain a little bit.
Marvin Smelders, a senior from Germany. So you got a couple of guys from Germany. Elias Harris for the Zags, also from Germany in his first year. Bolden matched up with Campbell, a little too quick for him, and Matt Bolden's going to pick up his first and the team's second. Eric Reveneau was a player at Stanford, then an assistant coach, worked with Mike Montgomery, played for him and Tom Davis at Stanford. Now in his fourth year, really turned the corner last year. They had 19 wins, the second most in school history.
And he puts his players in position to be successful. Terry runs very solid half-court sets. They'll run if the opportunity presents itself, and they're an outstanding three-point shooting team, which tells me that they have excellent floor space.
Smulders blocked by Sacre. Zags on the run. They like the run, especially here at home. There's the double down low on Sacre.
Going to be critical to see the defensive rotations out of the double team for Portland.
Out of bounds, and it stays at the Gonzaga end. Mark Few, of course, the dean of coaches in this league in his 11th year, 21st year overall here in Spokane. Second best winning percentage in college basketball.
That's an amazing statistic. When you look at all the tremendous schedule, especially their non-conference schedule that they play, to have that kind of winning percentage.
Yeah, 5-second call, they didn't get it in. And the third turnover already by the Zags, so Mark Few can't be happy about that. What do you think the sense is with Mark Few and a coaching staff in where Gonzaga is right now? That one's thrown away by Stoll.
Well, I think they are looking at their team in a sense of trying to establish some consistency. We saw them early in the year in the non-conference schedule really do some yeoman's work against Michigan State, against Illinois. I mean, Wake Forest, even though they lost that game, they were very, very competitive against some big-time teams. And they're looking to get that back in West Coast Conference play.
I'd love to get Stephen Gray going, too, the junior from Bainbridge, Washington. He hadn't really shot the ball nearly as well as expected to this point. 33% from three-point range. That was a deuce. Stoll, who shoots it at a 47% clip from beyond the arc. Tipped out, it stays here. And if you like shooting, if that's your thing, I mean, don't go anywhere. Portland, especially this guy here, Stoll, I mean, he almost brought them back and won that game single-handedly in the first matchup with Gonzaga.
Yeah, we were talking to Coach Reveneau during shoot-around. He talked about how Jared Stoll worked in the weight room and worked on his ball handling to improve himself to just not be a great shooter, but a total player.
Smulders the miss. Here come the Zags. Gray, the hesitation, kicking it out to Bolden, spotting up beyond the arc, and he buys it. Matt Bolden is fresh off his first career double-double against San Francisco, which is an amazing thing.
Hey, a little role reversal there, Terry. Matt Bolden slid to the two-guard slot that time. Stephen Gray acted as a point guard. Really good setup, drawing the defense and freeing up Bolden.
Gray, good defense on Stoll, taking away the three. Knutson gets it to go. I'm not sure that's the way he planned it going, but Kramer Knutson with a bucket, and they're on the board.
It looked like it could have been a three-point play opportunity. A lot of contact on the arm, but nice head fake to get the shot blockers off their feet.
Gray floats behind the screen. Bolden found him, but couldn't get it.
See, Portland will run. First big man hunts the ball side. They'll look to get the ball off the floor quickly.
Yeah, good tie-up. Bolden, the jump ball, possession arrow keeps it at the Portland end. Low-scoring game so far. 5-2 Gonzaga. We are here in the McCarthy Athletic Center. 5-2 Gonzaga with the lead in the early going. Back on January 9th in Portland, these two teams met. And late, Gonzaga was up by 3. Bol Kong missed a free throw. It's one of the weaknesses of this team this year. Watch the look that Stoll gets to tie it up. Almost knocked it down with his back initially to the basket.
Did a 180, then squared up and got a great look, but wasn't meant to be. And that just showed you how tough Portland played Gonzaga in that first game. And Jared Stoll went off in the second half to bring Portland back.
Eric Reveneau's club turned it over only 4 times in that game. And TJ Campbell had a big effort running the show. He had 12 assists and no turnovers. Here he is, almost with a turnover. Got it back.
The old announcer's jinx, huh?
Kelly Olynyk comes in off the bench and takes it away. Well, he turned it over eventually.
Boy, Gonzaga We've done them a number of times this year, Terry. They've come out with more defensive intensity than I've seen this season.
Foul's going to go against Elias Harris, trying to fight for position. That's his first. And the team's third.
Well, let's see, there's Elias right there and trying to set up and establish himself in the paint area. And I don't know, Smelders might have put a little acting into that one.
Well, Harris has been terrific the last couple of weeks. At 21 in the loss to USF, and he's averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds over the last 8 games. Tipped out, Gonzaga basketball. Portland, though, they come in on a 4-game winning streak, and not just winning. I mean, they've been blowing people out in the conference.
Yeah, just solid effort when you look at 23.5 points a game is their average margin of victory. So, and all this without their leading scorer, Terry.
And Nick Rivio, who's been out with that Achilles strain, and it's not a tear, and they thought he'd be back in time. Harris, another offensive foul, this time with the ball. Player control, that's his second.
Take a look at Elias Harris and just trying to explode to the basket. Robin Smelders, very good position defensively. Goes down on the contact, and second time they've baited Elias Harris into an offensive foul.
So Harris has to take a seat. And Sacre back in now for Gonzaga. They've turned it over 5 times already. There's that number in the winning streak. Almost 24 points per game, the scoring margin.
Well, and those fouls, 1 by Sacre and 2 by Elias Harris, will definitely lessen the intensity and the physicality on the defensive end.
Nemanja Mitrovic, a sophomore from Toronto, buries the jumper, and we're tied at 5.
Mitrovic has taken advantage of the absence of Nick Rivio, has come in and done a really good job shooting the basketball.
It really wasn't getting that much time. Rivio goes down with the injury, and his minutes go up, and Mitrovic is playing well. Olynyk, step back, long rebound, and here's the Pilots. If you're Eric Revenue right now, you're saying, okay, we weathered that initial rush. You knew Gonzaga would come in ready to play after losing their last game, and you're tied up. Goodson in the open floor, good body control, and maybe what Dimitri Goodson does best.
Oh, gets it up the floor as quick as anyone in conference play, and is a great athlete at the bucket, Terry. And he should have been rewarded that time. He put tremendous pressure on T.J. Campbell to force that turnover.
Tips it away from behind. Here goes Goodson. Sigma follows, and the foul as they both go down hard.
Well, this is what Coach Few and his staff have been wanting from Dimitri Goodson all season long. Defensive pressure, push the ball up, watch the body control to avoid the charge at the bucket. Nice concentration on the finish. And then acting like Alibaba and the 40 Thieves coming out of nowhere, coming up with the steal and putting pressure on Portland defensively.
And the foul, Luke Sigma, his first, the son of Jack, great NBA star. Really coming into his own, too, off the bench. The junior from Bellevue, Washington, averaging about 8 points a game, but much better than that as of late. Another one of those guys whose numbers have gone up since Rivio went out with the injury.
Yeah, 15 points and 12 rebounds against Santa Clara. And really starting to get some confidence, and that bloodline's probably kicking in, Terry. That Jack Sigma was a beast back in the day, his old man.
That turnaround, reverse pivot, keep the ball high, and just bury it.
And we haven't seen him do that yet. I'm thinking it's going to come out on just off reflex. He's not even going to realize it.
Not having even worked on it. Old Kong now in off the bench, a sophomore from Vancouver from Gonzaga. Tipped out, stays here.
Well, we just mentioned Jack Sigma. Let's take a look back to the future in the silky smooth set shot right there. And young fella doing the same from the perimeter, but what'd you say the younger Sigma was missing that his older, that his father had?
The perm.
The perm,
There's
baby.
no perm. He's got to get that look going. Maybe not. Mitrovic, 1 for 2 now. Long, solid rebound.
And you see on the floor right now, Bold Kong, Kelly Olynyk. These guys are going to have to be big for Gonzaga if they want to make a run, a deep run in the NCAA tournament. Zags got to the Sweet 16 round last year. Do they have the depth to get past that this year? Remains to be seen.
Olenek in no man's land threw that away. Campbell will control it out front. Almost 6 assists per game, and his numbers really good in the last 4 games as well. Shooting percentage, 3-point percentage too. One of the top 3-point shooters in the conference and in the country last year as well.
He really. And Terry, when you see a guy shooting a high percentage from 3, it means they're taking good shots. They're not forcing the issue, taking it as it comes to them. TJ Campbell doing that.
Portland doing a nice job on the glass. And Campbell throws it away. That's a couple turnovers already. TJ Campbell. 8-5 lead for Gonzaga, trying to avoid back-to-back losses in the West Coast Conference. How about Gonzaga and St. Mary's, which has really become the rivalry in the West Coast Conference?
Well, and you see the numbers in front of you, and it's the emergence of St. Mary's as a contender in the West Coast Conference. It's really good conference overall, but it's great for this particular rivalry because both these two teams, they have respect for each other, but there's no love lost between the two.
And then you throw in Portland now, which has really joined that group. And coincidentally, or maybe not, you've got the 3 longest tenures at the end of the bench for those 3 teams. Mark Few, Randy Bennett, and Eric Revenue, who's only been at Portland 4 years. He's number 3 on that list.
That's incredible, and that's also an indication of the turnover in this conference and how some of the programs have struggled to really establish themselves. San Francisco, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine have all had good seasons but haven't been able to sustain them in recent years.
Cole Kong had his 3-pointer changed by Smelders. It came out hard. Taishi Ito, backup point guard, their best defender on the perimeter, now on the floor for Portland. Well, this has not been a shooter's delight. I talked about if you like shooting, stay tuned. I mean, they have more turnovers than field goals made for both teams. Starting to change, though, and that guy will change it in a hurry. Stoll.
Stoll doesn't need much room. And you've got to read the scouting report. About 70% of his shots come from 3-point land.
Gray drew the foul, I believe, on Stoll, and he'll go to the free throw line. It is. It's Jared's first. Reminder, men's college hoops presented by 5 Hour Energy coming your way Saturday. And Villanova taking on Georgetown. They were upset last night. Duke and VC in the ACC at 2 o'clock Eastern time.
Duke coming through and big win against Georgia Tech at home. And you mentioned it, Terry. South Florida is all of a sudden a team to be reckoned with out east. So Georgetown looking to get back on the winning side, but going against a team I think is, right there is one of the best, could be #1 team in the country.
Villanova?
Yes. They're dangerous, Terry.
Do you want to be #1? That's kind of a silly question, I guess. But, I mean, you look at Texas, you look at Kentucky, Kansas, almost beaten twice.
But, Terry, you were #1 at the end of the season. You're a national champion. So, #1, anytime you can get it, that's a bragging rights thing.
It's tough to get knocked off if it's the end of the season. I like being #1 at the end.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good time.
But, no, it's #1 at any point in the season is great.
Will Foster, 7'5" center off the bench, misses, gets it back. Blocked by the rim, but a foul. Now, Foster getting a lot more minutes this year than he has in the past.
Well, Terry, he's consistent. He's running the floor here at 7'5". He keeps it high. And that's tough to ask for a man of that size, but he doesn't quit on the play, gets back in there, and draws a foul. Will Foster, as you mentioned, Terry, his role has increased as the season's gone on. And a guy that size that can play defense without fouling, and he can run the floor like that, those are positive minutes for Mark Few.
It's a good look, too.
Good look.
That's a Gonzaga look. You think about
with
Morrison. And, oh, yeah. Bolden's had it throughout. Not quite the beard, but, I mean, the shaggy look.
Yeah, he definitely got the shaggy look going. A little reminiscent of one of those insurance commercials we know about too.
Matthew Dellavedova's got it at St. Mary's. Yeah, It's everywhere.
Oh, my goodness.
Here's Ito. Gives it off to Stoll. Smelder's working one-on-one with Harris, who's back in with the 2 fouls. Stoll on Bolden around the screen. That's what he does. Stops, pops, and all net. And how quickly he gets that ball out.
And Terry, he was under duress that time. And if you could shoot the ball off the bounce from three-point land, what a dangerous weapon.
Bull Kong strong to the hoop.
Talking to Bull Kong at shoot-around today, and he said he needed to be more aggressive on the offensive end. He's been settling for threes too much. He's got good size on the wing and surprising athleticism, as we just saw.
He can shoot the 3. That's the temptation, though, to really live and die by it. Knutson out to Ito, only averages about 2 points per game. Under that, as a matter of fact. Not really a big threat offensively.
Ito got a little too deep in that paint area.
Harris. Foster lost it. Taken away by one of the smallest players on the court. Taishi Ito, 6-footer against the 7'5" guy. Niedermeyer to the left hand over Foster. Used his body well.
Niedermeyer doing a great job of going to the chest of the shot blocker. You don't try to avoid him. You go right through his chest. Now the pace is what we anticipated, Terry, at the beginning of the game.
Bolden to the right hand. Quick first step. Maybe not the fastest guy on the floor, but he always seems to beat his man when he has to.
Definitely. And Terry, because I think his first step is deceptively quick, and he gets those big shoulders on you at 225. It's tough to stop him when he wants to get to the hole.
Once he turns that corner. Niedermeyer tried to enter it to the post, tipped out of bounds.
Watch how closely Elias Harris and Matt Bolden are flying at him, and he hits nothing but cotton. And Niedermeyer going through the snot box of Will Foster right through his chest. And Bolden get to the hole. You like that, didn't you?
You're fired up tonight. Man, what is it about you?
It's for first place. West Coast Conference.
Okay.
Man, I love coming out here doing these games.
Pulling all of them out tonight. Bolden takes a seat. He'll get a rest. Grant Gibbs, a redshirt freshman from Marion, Iowa. Now in for Mark Few. High-low, the lob, Knutson. Nope. Gibbs on the run. Harris, better be careful. We got the offensive foul earlier. Not this time, no. Elias gets the roll.
Elias with some happy feet on the box. Great footwork to avoid the contact. And you see Gonzaga's going to try to get him on the block early in offense.
Smelders looked around. There was nobody near him, so he said, why not?
Terry, you talked about it. Typically 4 or 5 players on the floor at all times with Portland can shoot the basketball from the perimeter.
Sacre, jump hook, no. Manny Arap fights his way underneath for the bucket and the foul. Two-point lead for the Zags. We'll check out 30 seconds with Stevens. Got a special guest. That man right there when we come back.
Don't find yourself in the doghouse. This Valentine's Day, give her a 3-piece ruby set from J.C.
30 seconds with Steven. This week's guest, Matt Bolden of Gonzaga. You come off a loss from San Francisco. What do you think this does for your team?
Really just shows that anybody can win. You know what I mean? We have to come out with the same fire and toughness that we have from the beginning. And, I mean, we don't do that. Any team can beat you.
Every time you guys play a conference opponent, they give you your best shot.
You know, we take it as a compliment. You know, it's almost a sign of respect that they come in here and want to beat us that bad.
You have an uncanny ability in passing. Where'd you pick that up?
I used to sit in my basement and watch Pete Maravich, Steve Nash, and all the great guards. I used to watch a lot of game film. And then my dad said, he used to take me out of games if I didn't pass the ball, because I just dribbled down and launched NBA threes before I could get it there.
Look in the camera and tell America what to expect tonight.
Tonight you're going to see Gonzaga come out and play harder, with more passion, more fire than you've seen them play in a couple months. Hopefully get that W.
That was 30 seconds with Steven. We'll see you next week.
Obviously a Rockies fan. His dad was a great player, by the way. You mentioned his pops. He played in the ABA, right?
Yes, he did. 6'5" with a 42-inch vertical. And Matt was asking, what happened to my vertical?
He's got some skills.
Oh,
he's got nothing to complain about.
Exactly. But, yeah, it's in his blood, and Dad was one of his early coaches, and you can see why. Just a very skilled guard that can play multiple positions.
That dog between you guys was a little disconcerting.
Spike?
Yeah.
You didn't like Spike?
No, I'm just telling. Like he was staring at me the whole time. Gonzaga just 2 of 7 so far at the line. We told you about their struggles there this year. Tips out and Gonzaga basketball.
Wow. Elias Harris was cracked along the arm on that attempt, and no call. So it's been physical in certain situations, and it hasn't been in others. So players have to adjust. Portland in 2-3 zone right now.
Yeah, what do you think about the zone against the Zags? Goodson lets it fly, and he buys it. Dimitri really not known for that. In fact, 3 of 20, 15% on the year from beyond the arc prior to that shot.
For Gonzaga and Mark Few, you hope that elevates his confidence. Has pretty good form from there, Terry, but I think really lacks the confidence to elevate in those situations.
Smelders, Sackway avoided the foul, followed up though by Kramer Knutson, the junior from Mesa, Arizona.
I think Portland's done a fantastic job of keeping pace with Gonzaga. They really were slowed early on, and now they're starting to find some creases in the defense.
Goodson elevates after the drive. Sackway, the offensive rebound and the putback.
Robert Sacre just using that frame, Terry, moving people out of the way without fouling. And a smart decision, time by Knutson, to not foul.
Mitrovic, a little bit strong and over the back. So Gonzaga basketball as Bolden checks back in, and Ethan Niedermeyer also comes in for Portland.
Looking at Eric Revenue right there, coach. One of the more technologically savvy coaches in America. Use of editing equipment, giving it to the players on computers so they can view it at their leisure. Really ahead of his game.
Knutson blocked the shot of Sacre. It's out of bounds, but it'll be Gonzaga basketball with a fresh 35.
Knutson and Smelders sucking air right now. Sacre just giving them all they can handle on the interior.
Portland not a real deep team, especially without Nick Livio right now. So that's one of the concerns Eric Revenue has against a team like Gonzaga, who will get up and down the floor. Because the Pilots like to run as well. A rob. That's a 3. Niedermeyer a little bit late. So you got Arat knocking down the 3. It's only his 5th all year long. Goodson just hit a 3, only his 4th, and it's an 8-point lead.
Well, you saw Arat. He got that first bucket to go down with the foul, and seemed to really get him started.
Bolden set up by Goodson, in and out. Smelders falls in the rebound. Portland's got to get TJ Campbell involved right now. He's turned it over 3 or 4 times and has not really gotten the ball in the right hands. Smelders, a romp on the run.
Portland's done a pretty good job of getting back off misses. Now it's coming out where they were zone defense first, kind of coming out now man-to-man.
Well, if Mark Few could get Dimitri Goodson going and get some confidence, that'd be a big, big plus for him overall. He's been struggling a bit. They've got a 10-point lead. Revenue calls the timeout. Wants to talk it over after the 16-4 run by Mark Few's club.
Well, we questioned whether the depth of Gonzaga was going to be good enough to make a deep run in the tournament. Manny Rock coming up big here in the first half. And this is where Meach is what they call a Meach is great at. Acceleration and getting to the hole. And once he got that layup to go, Terry, his confidence is soaring.
So the double-digit lead now by the number 13 team in the nation. Saturday primetime presented by DirecTV. Number 5 Michigan State taking on your Fighting Illini, your former school. 9 o'clock Eastern time. What about the Illini this year in the Big Ten?
Well, Demetri McCamey, their point guard, leading assist man in the Big Ten, hit a game winner against Indiana last week, and you see the standings, Big Ten standings, everybody chasing Michigan State. And Michigan State, Kalen Lucas may not play, severely sprained ankle against Wisconsin.
Yeah, it was, x-rays were negative, so that's good, but they don't know when he's going to be ready. But the Big Ten, as solid as it is, not as deep as most people thought at the beginning of the season.
Well, people thought Minnesota, Michigan, those two teams in particular were top 25 preseason. They've been very disappointing in terms of big wins. And so when you look at 6, possibly 7 bids coming out of the Big Ten, more realistically, it would be 5.
Yeah, I think so at this point. Grant Gibbs picked up his first 15th foul. Portland's got 14 fouls right now. Stole to work. Campbell to back up 3. Well short. Gonzaga basketball. He's not in his rhythm right now. Credit the Zags defense for taking the 5'9" star out of it. 10-point lead for Gonzaga as we step away. Well, we'll get the news on a Pac-10 team in a few moments. But speaking of the teams out west, Barto's best in the West. Take a look at your rankings on Saturday. Gonzaga in the top spot, and on the BYU, St. Mary's on down the list. How about tonight?
Well, let's take a look and see here. San Diego State moving up. Arizona and Utah State debuting.
So you got San Diego State moving up 2. Portland moves up 1, having won 4 in a row.
Yep.
Arizona in for the first time, and Cal down 4.
Because of the matchup. See, I'm looking at records. I'm looking at what's going on. I'm not so sure of the matchups as they just pulled it. We're back to action. Lost my train of thought there.
Oh, okay. I wonder where you were going. But how about the Pac-10? I mean, how do you explain what has happened with the Pac-10?
Tremendous exodus of players in the first round the last 3 seasons. 18 guys in the first round.
Gibbs the bucket and the foul. 12-point lead, a chance to make it 13.
Gibbs getting an opportunity here in the first half. He started in place of Matt Bolden when Matt Bolden had a concussion earlier in the year. Young fella from Iowa, from Big Ten country, all the way out here making a contribution.
How did he get out here? I know you talked to him last week after the Santa Clara game.
He said a great thing, Terry. The style of play attracted him to Gonzaga. Said if you look at the Big Ten right now, they're not getting up and down the floor a whole lot, but he loves the way the Gonzaga gets up and down the floor, a more freestyle of play.
That's changed in the Big Ten. I'm not saying it's, it hadn't been that way. It has for a little while, but I know when you played in the late 80s, you got up and down the floor.
Oh, yeah. 80 points a game was not the exception. It was more of the norm. And it's starting to come back that way now, but I like his perspective, and I like the fact that young people now look nationally as opposed to regionally when I was in school.
Bolden gave it up, got it back. Said enough with this passing. Let's let it fly. It's 33-17, just like that. And they were ready for it here in Spokane.
Well, you see Matt Bolden doing his thing, being a playmaker, and getting back, setting up for that. That's his spot right there, just left of the elbow from three-point range. He's been very comfortable from that position.
Look at what he's done from beyond the arc the last 5 games. You got a double dip, men's college hoops on Saturday, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Villanova and Georgetown, told you about those 2 top 10 teams, at least right now. And number 9 Duke win over Georgia Tech at home tonight, taking on Boston College, 2 o'clock Eastern time.
Scotty Reynolds, I love this young man right here, Terry. I think he's one of the top guards in the country, and he's got just a very aggressive mentality. Greg Monroe, highly skilled big man, could have come out last year and been close to a lottery pick. Glad he came back to Georgetown. We need more guys like that to stay in the game.
Campbell tried to go cross court. Arop read it perfectly. Oh, we were tied up. And it's been a 22-4 run the last 6 minutes plus, and add on 2 more to that. Bolden again.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a good Portland basketball team, but Gonzaga has taken them apart with their defensive intensity here in the first half. I mean, no easy shots are given. They're not allowing him to drive to the hole. Look at the defensive rotation.
Smelder's fortunate to get that one back, and I mean, that was extremely difficult.
You better believe between the time of San Francisco's upset of Gonzaga and tonight, there were some physical practices had from Mark Few and his staff.
And every defensive look that they've given him, none of them has worked. And there's Bolden again inside. And a look at what Matt Bolden can do for you. He knocks down a three. He goes right back inside for a couple of buckets.
Goes back inside for a couple of buckets, Terry, and he can run the show for you. He's doing everything but selling tickets and popcorn tonight.
Niedermeyer, and around a couple of defenders. Ethan, the senior from Lafayette, California. He's right by Moraga and St. Mary's. Goodson back to Olynyk, making it look easy right now. I mean, this is just like a practice.
Well, there's an onslaught at the basket, sucking the defense in, and then we've seen some open three-point shots by Gonzaga because they're so aggressive on the penetration.
Mitrovic had it taken away, at least the look, by Rob. Campbell still can't get it going. Another 35. Arop gets it back, though, and a little extracurricular. Going to call Niedermeyer for the foul and credit the officials for jumping in quickly.
And not giving him anything other than a foul. It's good, hard, aggressive play, a little bit of frustration on the Pilots' side.
Although the officials now want to talk it over.
Well, we're seeing Matt Bolden showing every facet of his game. Right there off the bounce, taking the bump. Great body control and strength at the hole. And then flashes into the post. Puts that off arm and shoulder against the defender. One of the better products come out of Thunder Ridge High School. I just love saying that.
I know you do. You say it every telecast we have the Zags. That's fine.
I love it.
So the numbers he had against Portland in that first matchup, just typical numbers, really, for him. Shot clock is off. They can take the last one should they choose. And that is the plan. So an 18-point lead for the Zags after it was tight early. Olynyk maybe a little early, but Arop gets the offensive rebound and the putback up and in. That'll do it here in the first half. Mark Few out leading the cheers. Look at how pumped up the Zags are right now. TJ Campbell averages over 13 a game. He's been shut out so far here in the first half. It's been all Gonzaga. Eric Revenau's club in this one early, not right now. 41-21 as we join Ryan Burr in the studio. The halftime report coming your way.
And we're watching right now. It's all about the Zags. Had their win streak snapped this past weekend. Looking to start a new one in the WCC. They're up 20 at the break. Second half coming up next.
Number 13 Zags up by 20, 41-21 over the Pilots of Portland. Terry Gannon back with Stephen Bardo. It was a back-and-forth affair the first 10 minutes or so of this game, but the Zags ended on a 21-4 run the last 6.5 minutes of the first half.
It all starts on the defensive end, and Gonzaga was very solid when you look at what they did with TJ Campbell cutting the head off the offense, and the rest fell apart.
TJ Campbell, who averages about 13 points per game, shut out in the first half. 1 assist, 5 turnovers. And here's the good news for the Pilots. Jared Stoll was perfect from the floor. Here's the bad news. He only took 2 shots. They got to get him going. For the Zags, it's all about getting back to their intensity.
Tonight you're going to see Gonzaga come out and play harder with more passion, more fire than you've seen them play in a couple months. Hopefully get that W.
We're seeing offense sells tickets, so that's why we're showing it right now. And Matt Bolden getting hot. But their defense led to some of these opportunities. But we're seeing the total floor game of Matt Bolden in the first half, his ability to get inside. This is one of the reasons why Dimitri Goodson was doing so well in the first half. Robert Sacre right there comes in and builds a wall. Acts like he's setting up to post up right there, seals off the defense. Goodson able to read it, gets to the hole. Good job by Dimitri Goodson getting to the bucket.
Take a look at the numbers. Stoll with those 6 points, a couple of three-pointers. You've got to take many more shots than that if they're going to get back into this thing. Bolden, 12 points, and he did a little bit of everything, as you just saw. Look at those bottom two numbers. Points in the paint, points off of turnovers right now, all the Zags' way.
And they committed to getting to the rim. Only 10 three-point attempts by Gonzaga in the first half shows you that they knew they had an advantage in size and depth and in quickness with Elias Harris and Matt Bolden doing his thing.
So Bolden with 12 points, 5 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 4 beyond the arc. Jared Stoll, 2 of 2 so far in this game. But see if he can get going in the second half, see if T.J. Campbell can turn things around at the point guard spot. Those 5 turnovers. We told you the first matchup, he had 12 assists and no turnovers against the Zags.
Well, the ball pressure has been constant and harassing. Whenever T.J. Campbell gets the basketball, they're going to force him to put it on the floor and try to finish in the paint.
Bolden working. It looked like a pass in the end. Elias Harris, he'll tell you it was, but not going to buy it.
Elias Harris makes a lot of things look easy. Cleans up the attempt right there. You know he's itching to get going with those 2 quick fouls in the first half.
Harris at the other end starts the break. Here comes Goodson. Stops, fades. That's a tough shot.
And there's one criticism of his game. That's it right there. You'll see him get point blank, Terry, and instead of pivoting and looking for a teammate, he falls away. That's one of the toughest shots in the game of basketball.
Harris, 2 good defensive plays the first 2 trips. So it's 43-21 Gonzaga. Good look from Bolden, and one. Goodson finishes.
Terry, I'm so impressed. Matt Bolden's ability to stay in balance and control, set that play up. Looked like he was going full speed. He was able to gather himself, lay a nice dime off to his teammate, and Goodson showing you his athleticism.
Smelders the foul for Goodson. He's got 11 points in this game already. You go back 11 games, he only had one double-digit scoring performance prior to tonight. Knutson, nice job posting up, but Sacre comes over. He'll commit the foul, but he stopped the bucket.
I love the commitment of the post feed. This is a lost art in the game, and we've seen 2 of these tonight by Portland. Right there, Niedermeyer, beautiful lead. Post Knutson. That's a lost art in the game. That just warms my heart right there.
Well, that's why they do it, to warm your heart.
Exactly.
Knutson buys the free throw. It's a guy who doesn't miss often from the floor. Number 4 all time in Portland history in terms of field goal percentage. You know who number 1 is? Portland history field goal percentage.
I bet his last name starts with an R.
And so does his first name, Rick Rivio. Nick Rivio's papa. Derek Rivio obviously played here, was a star for Gonzaga. And one of those guys, when you go down the list of the great point guards, he's on that list in Gonzaga history. Smelders operating on Sacre. No, not this time. Not tonight, really. Zags on the run. Bolden behind the back. Well, they've been impressive. Every phase of the... It's a different Gonzaga team than we saw a week ago at Santa Clara, and certainly it showed up in San Francisco on Saturday. Stoll off the mark.
Terry, Gonzaga is a fairly veteran ball club, but you know my saying, 18 to 22-year-olds about as predictable as the stock market. So, you know,
Is that your saying?
Yeah.
That's yours?
18 to 22-year-olds?
All these years I've worked with you. I didn't know that was your saying. Something every time out.
No, actually, my mom told me that. and I was 18 at the time.
Right. It's just talking about you. Niedermeyer off the heel.
Portland's just having one of those nights, Terry, where they are getting open looks, just not converting.
They're getting open looks in the second half. I'm not sure they got many open looks in the first half. Everything was difficult. Here's the man right here. Got to create a little bit more. Without Rivio, Nick Rivio is the one guy who could break you down off the dribble. Even take some shots that maybe you shouldn't take, but he created offensively, and that now it falls on Campbell.
Good hustle by Robert Sacre getting on the floor. And Terry, you're right. TJ Campbell, one of the few guys going to create, but they've really keyed in on him.
Using his body inside, and it's a 26-point lead. And they're still hopping here. At least the students are. With the 26-point lead. Campbell inside out stole the all-time leading three-point shooter in Portland history. He broke that mark against Santa Clara over the weekend.
Gonzaga, I'm sure, did a lot of closeout drills defensively because it appears Portland is open for some looks. But before they release it, they've got a hand in their face.
Stoll passes one up. Niedermeyer along the baseline, and they've hit 3 of their last 14 shots, but at least it's something positive right now. Get a quick timeout. Eric Reveno going to talk things over with the Pilots. 48-24 Gonzaga. Ryan, thanks. Here, it's a 48-24 game. Gonzaga, number 13 team in the nation, coming off a loss. First loss in they won 22 straight overall in the West Coast Conference until the defeat at San Francisco on Saturday. 27 in a row in the regular season in conference.
And that can breed a little complacency, and I think that's what Gonzaga was battling until they suffered their first loss. But they have come out and righted the effort tonight.
Well, and we've talked about it. They get everybody's best shot, night in, night out. And I don't care where you're at. I mean, that's difficult to deal with. It takes a guy like Mark Few. It's why they're so impressive as a program. You saw that they haven't lost back-to-back conference games in a decade. Foul inside on Portland.
And Terry, that's an argument to me that allows Gonzaga to be ready come tournament time. They get criticized for playing in the West Coast Conference, but when you get everybody's best shot, that's an elevated level of competition that you're going against night in and night out.
Well, two things. First of all, the West Coast Conference has gotten better. St. Mary's stepping up, Portland stepping up. And then the non-conference schedule is ridiculous for them.
Yes.
They go out and play everybody.
Yes, they play anybody, anywhere, at any time. So they're used to playing different styles. There's different styles in the West Coast Conference, and there's different styles of play that Wake Forest, Illinois, Duke, Michigan State, some of the teams that they play in the non-conference slate.
So you go around the country and not only play the top teams, but you're right, the different styles, the way the game is called in different conferences. Schmelders with the miss. Luke Sikma, the follow. And you hope that come March, that has put your team in a position where they're much better prepared for the NCAA tournament.
And you look at, we talked about earlier in the first half, the one question is guys like Manny Arap, Kelly Olynyk, being able to come in, bowl Kong, and be effective in pressure situations.
Sikma stepped in late. That's his third. We'll step away here in Spokane.
ABC, your home for the NBA Sunday Showcase. Tensions are running high at the top of the Eastern.
Approaching the 15-minute mark here in Spokane. Gonzaga with a 48-26 lead over the Pilots of Portland. The countdown has begun. Just 4 days away from number 2 taking on number 6 in the Big East, and number 1 against number 10 out of the Big 12. Kansas taking on the Longhorns of Texas. Big Monday kicking off rivalry week presented by Cisco.
Terry, we had the pleasure of doing Texas earlier in the season at the CBE tournament in Kansas City, and they look like world beaters, but they have struggled in a half-court offense in Big 12 play. They've got to right the ship. They had got some of the best depth in the country, however, and if they can right the ship, they'll be a dangerous team come tournament time.
Okay, tournament time, though, it does become a little more of a controlled game, a little more of a half-court game. Even if you're a deep team and you like to run and you try to go that pace, down the stretch, you've got to get it done in the half court. Can they?
Well, they've got Dexter Pittman on the interior that's going to draw double team or he can score. You've got Damian James, who is playing as well as anybody in the country, can create his own shot. It's somewhat of an enigma that they're not able to score in the half court because they have so many weapons. Avery Bradley, Hamilton on the wing, Jacobin Brown at the point guard position. I mean, they've got guys that can score the basketball.
Stoll letting it go from the G in Gonzaga. And there's the foul. It's going to go against Matt Bolden. That's his second. Crowd, especially the students, not liking that call.
Terry, how's that feel to be able to let the ball fly like that when you come across half court?
I remember a few years, my man.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
Yeah, you might have had a few more assists at Illinois than I had at NC State. I didn't think much about passing it, but.
Well, you could shoot the rock. You didn't have to pass it. I couldn't shoot like that and never had the green light. I don't know what that feels like.
Jason Hannibal in off the bench now for Portland. Taken away by Harris. Look at that spin. The dish to Gray. Elias Harris showing you can take it out on the perimeter in transition.
Are we seeing a glimpse of the future? Some three position with the ability to handle the ball and make plays for his teammates?
Niedermeyer, the miss, cleared by a rock. So you think maybe, well, certainly on the next level in the NBA, but you think even here at Gonzaga, as Harris goes to work and a walking violation called on him, the three spot is in his future?
I definitely think so, Terry. And let's look at right here. Spin move to avoid the charge, and then a bounce pass on the fast break. That's good fundamental basketball. And yes, I do think we'll see that because Mark Few is so evolved on the offensive end. He loves trying to develop his guys and assist them to be the best that they can.
Now we're thinking about next year, the pieces to the puzzle and where they may fit in. There are some, as Campbell continues to struggle from the floor. And the foul's called against the Zags on the rebound. And it's going to go against Manny Arap. There are some who think that Elias Harris could come out after this first year. In talking to him, sure doesn't sound like it.
No, he's got his head screwed on right. Not that he wouldn't have it screwed on right if he came out early, but here's a young man that doesn't quite have the AAU seasoning of the youngsters in the United States. He's coming from Germany, a small town, didn't have to go through an agent to try to recruit him.
Yep.
So he's got a whole different makeup. He likes college. He likes being here. He likes developing as a young man. I think we'll see him here next season.
Well, Jared Stoll struggling here in the second half. And Eric Revenue did not need that. 24-point game. 27-point game. Wow, how impressive have they been tonight?
And I keep reminding our viewers, Portland's a good basketball team. They've got some very good wins in the non-conference slate. But when you come and you're playing against a team that's coming off a loss, and you know they had a terrific week of practice, it shows out here. It's just a tough task to come in here and try to make a dent in this lead.
But this defensive effort by Gonzaga tonight is so much better than we've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks. Another turnover by the Pilots. And you know it's been there. Eric Revenue, coming in, I'm sure, thought, hey, maybe we can take advantage of that a little bit. It's a difference between last year and this year with Gonzaga. They were better defensively. Tonight, they've been terrific.
Oh, they've really concentrated on cutting the head off of the team, which is T.J. Campbell. And as a result, Portland never has found their rhythm offensively.
Shane, you got Campbell trying to stop Matt Bolden, and Bolden recognizing there's no way that he can keep him out of the lane.
Gonzaga, they're putting the foot on the gas. There's been no let up on the defensive end. Look at the pressure, hands up, denying the passes.
They're going to call the push on Elias Harris. Remember, he picked up those 2 quick fouls to start the game and has been able to play since then without fouling until this point.
Well, if you want to see a young Pistol Pete Maravich type, check out Bolden, 17 points tonight, 10th all-time score at Gonzaga.
Wow, Pistol Pete, you're going there. They've got their stars in L.A. They go out to Pauley Pavilion in Westwood. We've got some stars here, too. How about the Olympic chant? Peggy Fleming in town for some appearances and watching the game tonight. John Stockton also here, one of the all-time greats. He's in his usual seat at McCarthy Athletic Center. And Judd Heathcote, great coach, Michigan State, also here. He takes in all the games. Good friend of Mark Few. In fact, a couple of Hall of Famers right there, and inducted at halftime into another Hall of Fame.
Yeah, those guys are something else. And Judd Heathcote, had the pleasure of being recruited by him when I was in high school, and one of the funniest men you'll ever meet.
No doubt about it.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, they were inducted into the Washington State Hall of Fame at halftime. Peggy checking. I don't know that Peggy's ever been to a hoops game. A good friend, worked 14 years with her on figure skating, and I know at that point she hadn't been to one.
So you're saying that she had the rock, she couldn't triple access through the paint?
No.
No?
Yeah. That timeout, she was waiting for the Zamboni to come out.
Oh, okay.
It's an ice make.
Oh. Look at the help. Once again, they're giving no space. Just aggressive defensively. Gibbs builds a wall, and Zachary comes and cleans it up. You can say that they didn't look like they picked up many basketballs in practice this week. A lot of defensive drill.
Quick hands underneath tips it out, too. So the beat goes on for the Zags. And if you're just tuning in, I mean, remember, Portland is one game behind Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference. They're 5-2. Gonzaga 6-1 after the loss on Saturday to San Francisco. And this is a club in Portland that was picked before the season to come in second right behind Gonzaga.
And you look at a 4-game win streak that Eric Revenau's club had coming in here, starting to make some adjustments without their leading scorer, Nick Rivio, who's out with a strained Achilles tendon. And they're really starting to get some confidence going. But boy, this is a tough one to swallow here.
Mitrovic, the long three. And the Zags on the run again.
And you look at Portland and their record, 14-7 overall. And we asked the question, can the WCC get 3 in? It's going to be awfully tough for Portland, having had 2 shots at Gonzaga, unless we see an incredible turnaround in this game. We drop 2 to the Zags.
Mark Few livid. He's saying that ball was touched. It was tipped out by the defense, and the officials giving it to Portland. Yeah, I'm not sure. 2 years ago, the West Coast Conference got 3 into the NCAA tournament. Last year, St. Mary's was so close, many felt they should have been in, but they didn't go. Gonzaga, the only team. Campbell finally buries one.
Boy, he had to run hard off some screens, though, to get away from Gray. Gray was right on his tail, and good job by Campbell getting that off.
Now, here's the thing. As you look around the landscape in college basketball, the Big Ten probably going to have fewer teams going than expected. The Pac-10, certainly. I mean, did they get more than 2 in? Zachary will go to the free throw line.
Do they get 2 in?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the question. You're right. And, I mean, the A-10 might pick up a couple. How about the SEC? As you look at the matchups coming away, Villanova and Georgetown, Duke, and BC. That's on Saturday at noon and 2 o'clock Eastern time. The point being, there may be some spots open for at-large bids around the country that normally might not be there.
I totally think so. We're looking at the ACC matchup between Duke and Boston College. Is North Carolina going to get into the NCAA tournament, having dropped yet another game at Virginia Tech tonight? And so when you start to ask those questions, and you look in the SEC, where Mississippi State and Mississippi, many thought that those were tournament teams. They're struggling now. There could be 5-6 extra slots for teams from the Mountain West Conference. The A-10, which is strong this year.
Yep. Golden the dish to Gibbs. No-look shot. Eventually taken away, but the foul called on Nemanja Mitrovic. Mitrovic is first.
I'll take a look at Matt Bolden once again. Getting out on the break. He's always in control, Terry. Behind the back, crossover. Beautiful pass underneath.
All right. Now, you went to break bringing up the name Pistol Pete Maravich. And I I have said that before too, but not to compare him. I mean, don't go crazy out there. You're not comparing him to Pistol Pete Maravich. But when you watch him play, you get that feeling from an aesthetic point of view, the way he handles the ball, the way it's an extension of his hand, the way he sees the court. You do get that feeling. He brought him up as one of his the guys he really looked up to growing up.
I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what I meant.
Oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
I got
Just
you.
what you said.
I got you now.
Yeah.
I understand.
There's only one Pistol Pete Maravich.
Right, exactly.
Well, maybe 40 points a game in college.
Foul underneath. Smelders to the line. I would throw another name in there. When you talk about those type players, Ernie DiGregorio. Not from putting up the numbers or doing what, and he was short guy, nowhere near the,
But you got to give a history lesson on that, Terry.
I know, nobody knows who that if you're under 30. I mean, here's a guy who just, the ball, he did anything he wanted with the basketball. And one of the all-time great playmakers in college basketball.
Yeah.
Where do you go? Boston played? No, Buffalo. Played with Buffalo a little bit in the NBA, right?
The precursor to Bob McAdoo coming out there.
Exactly.
Well, Terry, we were talking about Portland just a little while ago. We talked about their record. They've got some bad losses on their resume. 18 points to West Virginia, 20-point loss to Idaho, and 35-point loss to Washington. So another double-digit loss here tonight. It's not going to look real good on their resume.
A rock the miss, tipped out by Elias Harris. No, they would say they dropped this. They're 14-8, 5-3 in the conference, and the schedule obviously not a strong one numbers-wise. Their RPI right now is 90.
Yeah, and that's going to be very difficult to overcome because now you don't have the marquee game anymore of a Gonzaga. We got one more against St. Mary's, and then they've got the tournament. So they're going to have to live their life postseason for the conference tournament.
And remember, this is a team, though, that beat Oregon, beat UCLA, beat Minnesota. Smelders on the run, the easy lay-in. And their two conference losses to this point by a combined 8 points. Tonight, though, has been a different story.
Now, if they get Nick Rivio back and he's healthy in the conference tournament, they can give Gonzaga a run for their money. But they're going to have to be totally healthy and clicking on all cylinders. And Rivio, they expect him to be back at the last week of the season, of regular season, and in hopes that they can all be on the same page come Las Vegas.
You know, Niedermeyer took a shot as he went around that screen and fell down, maybe because of it, and a turnover right in front of Eric Revenue. Watch this.
When things go bad, they go bad, and every break seems to go against you in these situations.
There have been no answers for Eric Revenue tonight.
Well, his club got blitzed coming in here. They were coming into a hornet's nest. Gonzaga eager to get back on the floor after their loss at San Francisco. Portland trying to do a little matchup zone here, trying to extend the pressure to the three-point line to discourage Matt Bolden and his open looks.
5 on the shot clock, so Harris is going to launch a three. Bolden gets it back. That's been the night.
So Harris is going to build a house there.
Yeah, that doesn't add to the three-spot credibility.
No, that's with 5 seconds left. Let me get the ball to Matt Bolden and let him do what he does best.
But the shooting and the ball handling, if he's going to make that transition to the three spot for Harris, he'll have to work on that in the offseason. Bolden doesn't have to work on that. 20 points in the game. Niedermeyer.
Well, they've had some looks here in the second half. I think the accumulation and the wear and tear of the defensive pressure from Gonzaga, the physical play in the paint, maybe has worn this Pilots team down because their legs into their shots. And
And now you go back to the zone in part because of that. But guess what? The long rebounds, it's tougher to rebound, and you give Gonzaga extra chances at the offensive end. So a timeout is called with 6:42 left, and Gonzaga up 62-33. Portland, one of its last 12 from beyond the arc. Tough way to make a comeback bid in the second half. How about the headlines this week? NCAA talking about maybe expanding the tournament to 96 teams.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No.
Why? Because the regular season won't mean as much?
If you got a Rolls Royce that's working, why are you going to try to fix it?
All right, I'll get back to that. Lucas, we talked about him day to day. Royce White leaving Minnesota without having played. He had his troubles. Talented, heralded recruit in Minneapolis. The thing is, every time they've expanded the tournament, though, it hasn't hurt it. It's only gotten better and better. Michigan State and Illinois at 9 o'clock Saturday primetime, presented by DirecTV, coming your way. You don't want to take that on, huh?
No, I do, but I knew we had some bills to pay.
Okay.
And so we're paying the bills.
I got you.
Now, Terry, the coaches want it because if you don't make the NCAA tournament, it's looked upon as not a productive season, which I don't agree with. You could go to NIT and have a productive season, but to open up from 64 to 96, now you're getting into a situation where it's close to the college football bowl system that nobody likes. You let 50% of the college football teams into the postseason.
No. The reason people don't like the college football bowl system, or those who don't like it, is because it's not, they say, decided on the field. It's decided by people putting two teams together for a national championship. You're still playing for it in basketball.
Yeah, you're still playing for it, but it's watered down. The college football bowl system is watered down. If you allow more teams in the NCAA tournament, there's not a premium of getting in.
But you still decide it on the floor. And you don't remember when it's 32 teams or 48 teams because, it's 65 teams now. That's the way. Hey, we're going to take a look at how Gonzaga ends practice every day, including a couple of imposters.
ESPN's exclusive presentation.
T. Rowe Price has been a showcase of Gonzaga basketball, 62-33 over Portland. We promised that we'd take a look at how Gonzaga ends practice every day. They do it by shooting half-court shots and do it quickly, I guess.
Yeah, as fast as I've ever seen it. That's a fun part of ending practice and part of a ritual of many teams.
Yeah, but the primetime players stick the court next. Watch this from Mr. Bardo. Count it for three.
And Gannon, see, I got to get a running start. You shoot a jumper from half court. He hadn't lost anything, man.
Can he go two in a row? Oh, barely missed. Yeah, we do that. Who made the first one today, though? We did it again this afternoon.
Our producer, Matt Lip.
Yeah, that's
walked on the court, hit nothing but cotton on the first try.
You know, when
What's up with that?
When a producer beats two ex-players, I mean, it is a bad night. It's been a bad night for Portland so far, too. I mean, what do you make of this? What Gonzaga has been able to do to a very good basketball team tonight?
Well, they made sure that the most important thing that they were doing tonight was defensive pressure on T.J. Campbell. And once they got T.J. out of position, he was uncomfortable. He made turnovers early. It led to their defensive pressure on the wing, being physical in the paint area, and it was just a snowball effect, which led to their open offense.
T.J. Campbell, 1 of 8 tonight, just 2 assists in the game.
And see, T.J. Campbell is typically, he's one of the smaller guys, point guard-wise, in the conference. But Gonzaga's got bigger guards who are quick. And so that height really bothered T.J. Campbell tonight.
Kramer Knutson the follow. Eric Revenue wanted a foul called on that as well. Revenue up and working the officials. They will get the foul out front. That's the 7th team foul. So they'll go to the line for the 1-and-1. Hey, you know, you mentioned this. First 9 possessions, 5 turnovers for Gonzaga. The last 50-plus now, 51 after this last one. 3 turnovers. How about that?
You're not going to lose very many games taking care of the basketball like that and adding the defensive pressure. That's a deadly mix for Portland this evening. And when Gonzaga can play that fast, Terry, and they can take care of the basketball,
that's something else.
Yeah.
You're right. Look at the shirt, Believe. Mark Few and the coaches wearing that tonight. It's Coaches versus Cancer Day here in Spokane. And you know the efforts that Mark Few and his wife, Marcy, have made over the last, well, since 2002. They've raised over $4 million in the fight against cancer. They've been very active in that. And you've been a part of that, too, here.
Yeah, I come to the summer golf outing that they have, and it's a who's who in college basketball shows up. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, among others that show up, and they do a fantastic job. And it's an emotional night, Terry, the dinner, when you come in and they talk about how cancer has affected everyone in the room and what they're able to do with the money that's raised and some of the recipients. It's a moving night, and I love being a part of it.
To further that point, Jim Valvano's brother, Nick, head of the V Foundation, announcing this week that they raised with ESPN and behind ESPN's efforts during Jimmy V Week over $900,000 the fight against cancer. That's more than ever in that week.
Well, it's just a great cause, and the marriage of sports and fundraising for such a dreaded disease is wonderful.
Bo Kong, quick hands, taken away, but he stepped on the baseline. So it'll be Portland basketball.
Bo Kong, another one of those guys off the bench that we talked about. Good size at 6'6", doesn't give up on the play. And there must be a hustle stat or a new thing that they're keeping, because it's just been relentless, Terry.
Officials going to come over to the scorer's table and sort something out with 4:54 left here in Spokane. I think maybe a malfunction with the shot clock, or deciding what should be on the shot clock.
Well, it's amazing how fast the conference season has gone. 7 games remain.
It is, isn't it?
And the West Coast Conference play leading up to the conference tournament in Las Vegas, and we've had the pleasure of doing that. That's a big-time event and great basketball that time of year.
A good jump hook by Niedermeyer. A little pressure now. If you're Eric Revenot, right, at this point in the game, you want your guys, it's an important part not to get into bad habits, not to leave with negative thoughts in your mind, although, you know, this is a loss. Should it stay that way, which is going to be negative, but something positive before you leave.
Something positive, and you also have an opportunity to work on some things in this situation that maybe you would not if the score was tied.
Campbell lost it, got it back. Niedermeyer reloads and buries the 3. Ethan Niedermeyer, the senior from Lafayette, California.
Oh, Eric Revenot is coaching on that sideline like it is a tie ball game, getting the effort out of his players and really trying to get after it. And as you mentioned, Terry, the score doesn't matter at this juncture. You just want to keep playing hard.
They give an easy one up, though, to Elias Harris. Goodson on the pass. So Harris in double figures.
Now you see that Portland trying to extend the defense, but once that first level defense is broken, the middle is very susceptible.
One-handed pass. Campbell never put it away. Scored the miss. He's had a tough second half. TJ lets it fly. In and out. And they're going to whistle Knutson, I believe, who got tied up with Elias Harris. So the second foul on Kramer Knutson. That's how you get it done. Ball never hits the floor. Nice finish, too.
There's a suicide bomber inside the embassy.
From the director of Taken.
We got you working with our top operative.
Till death do us part. His new partner doesn't play by the rules.
All Gonzaga tonight, 67-40 over Portland. We've got 3:14 left until this one's over. Terry Gannon back with Stephen Bardo. Let's take a look right now at our best of the night, presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. And it is Matt Bolden, the subject of 30 seconds with Stephen earlier today. Yes, it was that 30 seconds he spent with you.
I'm saying everybody in the conference is going to want to get on now.
I know. I don't think he needed that.
No, I think that loss was motivation enough coming into the night's game.
And Bolden coming off that double-double in the loss to USF. He had 15 points and 12 rebounds. You know, remarkably, that's his first double-double.
And I think that points to the depth and the versatility of this ball club. When a guy like Matt Bolden of his caliber, it's his first double-double, but you get contributions from so many other players that he settles in and kind of runs the show.
All right, they've been terrific tonight, but they just lost to San Francisco. They were taken to the wire against Santa Clara. What's your assessment of Gonzaga and what they may be missing as you look ahead to the tournament?
I think if the man with the basketball right now, not just starting the offense, Dimitri Goodson, if he can be consistent and take pressure off the point guard position, score when given, but dishing when he doesn't have the opportunities, and continue to ball hawk up front. He really got the defense started. If he can be more consistent, this team could go far.
Smelders the bucket after the Foster bucket. It's true. They rise out of this crowd on the previous possession. And yeah, Dimitri Goodson. Foster, another alley-oop. This time he dunks it. 2 in a row from Gray to Foster. They love it here. Smile on his face, too. Blocked by Foster. Hannibal will go to the free throw line. But the thing is, he doesn't have to do too much, and sometimes I think he tries to do too much. Goodson.
Yeah, that's a good look right there to Will Foster. You like to see guys on the bench get an opportunity to come in and contribute. And he's obviously a fan favorite. But, Terry, like you said, on a team this talented, speaking of Gonzaga, a lot of times younger players think that they have to come in and score. You don't have to come in and score. You can wait your turn. As you get older in the program, set the guys up that need the ball. Stephen Gray, Matt Bolden, Elias Harris, Robert Sackler. If you can do that, you see Mark Few right there loving Dimitri Goodson's effort. He was fired up about him coming over to the sideline.
Only a sophomore. Takes a seat right next to Bolden. So Hannibal at the line after the miss on the first one. And if you're Eric Revenot, tough to assess your team after this game because I mean, Gonzaga may have played, might have been the best effort since the beginning of the year.
Complete effort in terms of offensive efficiency, defensive pressure, sharing the basketball, laying the wood on their opponents, being physical. Total team effort.
What you do know is that you'd love to have Nick Rivio back as soon as possible. Foster going to work again. Hannibal, good defense and the rebound. And Rivio, that Achilles strain, it isn't torn. He's had a number of doctors look at it. It's just not responding to treatment like they thought it would. They're not sure when he's going to be back.
You know, that's a delicate and intricate area that if you injure, there's a little bit of conscious thought where there might be a little hesitation to come back and go full speed. If you know anybody that's torn their Achilles tendon, puts them out for a while.
Count it. Goaltending. Eric Waterford, the sophomore from Modesto, California, off the bench and playing now with the bucket for Portland.
I know it sounds repetitive. 73 points a game. They're at 44 right now. It's an excellent shooting basketball team. 40%, 41% from three as a team.
That's the fewest points since they played Gonzaga 07-08. They scored 41. So the Zags did it to them then, and they're doing it again tonight. Michael Hart now in the game. G.J. Villarino also on the floor. There's the foul on Hannibal. So the guys who don't normally get in are getting some playing time tonight for Gonzaga.
Well, nice job, Villarino, on the pick and roll. Big fella doing what he does best, is getting to the rim. But Will Foster, we've seen him in games during the season come in and be a defensive force at 7'5". And he made a free throw. Look at the people. He's getting a standing ovation.
Chris Panerola-Mag off the bench, too. Guy who's only playing in 3 games this year.
Mark Few looks over at us and starts laughing.
Career high 6 points for Will Foster. There's the foul on Olynyk. Now here's a guy, who's had his bags packed a couple of times, thought about leaving, thought about transferring. It's been a long haul. First 3 years, kind of tough. Not what he expected, and now finally, in his senior year, getting much more playing time, and tonight for sure making the most of it.
And we've seen Will Foster came in against Michigan State on the road and had a very good game defensively. He will be counted on down the stretch, so you don't want to embarrass teams. Gonzaga's not trying to embarrass anybody, but you like these guys to get some game experience.
Well, no, the students are willing to embarrass anybody. They'll go with that.
Well, they're supposed to. That's part of the duties as a very good student body.
Hart flies a 3 right in front of his bench. Michael Hart, redshirt freshman from Portland.
Wow.
Shot clock is off.
Well, just a total display, and Gonzaga sending a salvo out to the rest of the West Coast Conference. And don't get your hopes up with that loss to San Francisco.
Mitrovic, that one will count as the buzzer sounds. You're right. In many ways, it's a statement game. Yeah, you're close. You're a game behind, but we're still the leaders here.
That's right.
John Stockton liking what he just saw tonight. Hall of Famer in many ways. Watching this one, all Zags tonight, number 13 team in the nation with a resounding win. 76-48 over Portland. Coming up next, college basketball final presented by Red Lobster. For Stephen Bardo and our entire crew, I'm Terry Gannon. Zags win again tonight at home. So long, everybody.